Listen, there are moments in life when something leaves you, and it feels like something inside you has been torn apart. A door closes, a person walks away, an opportunity disappears, a plan collapses. And in that moment, you don't feel protected. You feel rejected. You don't feel guided. You feel abandoned. But I came to shake something awake inside you today. What left your life was not your loss. It was your rescue. Let me talk to the person who is still asking, why did this happen to me? Why did that relationship end? Why did that job slip through your fingers? Why did that dream fall apart when you were so close? You've been calling it pain, but heaven has been calling it protection. Because there are things God sees that you don't. There are storms ahead you were never meant to walk into. There are people who smiled in your face, but carried poison in their spirit. And while you were trying to hold on, God was trying to pull you out. Sometimes God will remove something from your life, not because it's bad right now, but because it will destroy you later. Oh yes, hear this clearly. Not everything that feels good is good for you. There are blessings that come dressed like opportunities, but they carry consequences you are not prepared to carry. And God, in His infinite wisdom, will shut a door you begged Him to open, not to punish you, but to protect your future. You cried over what you lost, but you didn't realize what you were saved from. You mourned the ending, but heaven celebrated your escape, because sometimes the greatest miracle is not what God gives you, it's what He keeps away from you. Let me go deeper. There are seasons when God will interrupt your plans, and it won't make sense. You had everything mapped out. You knew where you were going. You saw the vision clearly. And then suddenly, everything shifts. Everything changes. Everything breaks. And you stand there confused, asking, God, why would you let this happen? But what if I told you? God didn't interrupt your plan to destroy it. He interrupted it to redirect it. Because where you were heading was not where you were destined. And if God has to break something to save you, He will. If He has to remove someone to protect your peace, He will. If He has to delay your blessing to prepare your spirit, He will. Because God is not just concerned about your happiness. He is concerned about your destiny. Some of you are trying to resurrect things that God has already buried. You keep going back to doors He has closed. You keep chasing people He has removed. You keep holding on to what He told you to release. And then you wonder why you feel stuck. You're not stuck. You're resisting redirection. Hear this, every removal carries a revelation. When God takes something out of your life, He is revealing something to you. He's showing you what was hidden. He's exposing what was disguised. He's protecting what you couldn't see, but you have to be willing to trust Him, even when you don't understand Him, because faith is not about having all the answers. Faith is about trusting God when you have none. It's about saying, God, I don't see it, but I trust you. I don't understand it, but I believe you. I don't feel good about it, but I know you are good. There are people who left your life and you thought they were your forever. You thought you couldn't live without them. You thought your story couldn't continue without them. But look at you. You're still here, still breathing, still standing, still moving forward, because what God removes was never meant to complete you. God will never take something from you without having something better prepared for you. But here's the problem. Most people are so focused on what they lost that they miss what's coming. You're staring at the closed door, while God is opening 10 more behind you. You're crying over what ended, while God is preparing what will elevate you. Let me speak to your spirit right now. Stop chasing what God removed. Stop begging for what He blocked. Stop grieving over what He released, because if God took it away, it had an expiration date on your life. Sometimes we confuse attachment with assignment. Just because something stayed in your life for a season does not mean it was meant for a lifetime. Some people are temporary, some situations are temporary, some blessings are seasonal, and when the season ends, God will remove it. Not to hurt you, but to grow you. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is painful. Letting go is difficult. But staying in the wrong place is far more dangerous, because what God is trying to protect you from could cost you your peace, your purpose, and your power. You don't realize how strong you are until God removes what you thought you needed, and suddenly you discover a strength you didn't know you had. You discover a faith you didn't know existed. You discover that your power was never in what you lost. It was always inside of you. Let me tell you something powerful. Redirection is not rejection. When God redirects your path, He's not saying no to you. He's saying not this way, because there is a higher way, a better way, a safer way. God sees the full picture. You only see the moment. He sees tomorrow. You only feel today. And because He loves you too much to let you walk into destruction, He will remove what will hurt you. Even when you don't like it, even when you don't understand it, even when it breaks your heart. There are people listening to me right now who are in a season of loss. You've lost things you never thought you would lose. You've experienced pain you never thought you would feel. And you're tired. Tired of starting over. Tired of rebuilding. Tired of trying again. But hear me, you are not starting over. You are starting right. Because everything that was removed was not aligned with where you are going. And God is not taking you backward. He is positioning you forward. There is a version of your life that you haven't even seen yet. A version where your peace is protected, where your purpose is clear, where your blessings are undeniable. But to get there, some things have to go. Some relationships have to end. Some doors have to close. Some paths have to be abandoned. Because you cannot carry everything into the next level of your life. Let me say it like this. What God is taking away cannot compare to what He is about to bring. But you have to trust the process, trust the silence, trust the waiting, trust the redirection, even when it doesn't make sense. Because one day you're going to look back at this moment and you're going to say, now I understand why it had to happen. You're going to thank God for the things you once cried over. You're going to be grateful for the doors that didn't open. You're going to celebrate the people who walked away, because you will finally see that every removal, every delay, every redirection was leading you to something greater. So stop asking, why did I lose it? Start asking, what is God preparing me for? Because your story is not over. Your breakthrough is not canceled. Your blessing is not denied. It's just being redirected. And when you arrive at the place God has prepared for you, you will realize something powerful. Nothing you lost was worth what you gained. So lift your head, wipe your tears, strengthen your faith, and trust the redirection, because God is not removing things to hurt you. There is a deep truth many people don't realize until life shakes them. Not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Some things are a divine evacuation. You were crying, holding on, begging for it to stay. And God was saying, if you only knew what I'm saving you from, you would thank me instead of questioning me. Because sometimes what looks like a breakdown is actually a breakthrough in disguise. Let's go deeper into this. There are moments when life feels unfair. You did everything right. You prayed. You believed. You invested your time, your love, your energy, and still it didn't work out. That's the part that confuses you, because you think, if I was doing everything right, why did everything go wrong? But here is the truth that will shift your entire perspective. Just because something feels right to you does not mean it is right for your destiny. There are paths that feel comfortable but lead to destruction. There are people who feel familiar but carry hidden danger. There are opportunities that look perfect but are perfectly designed to distract you from your purpose. And God, who sees what you cannot see, will step in and disrupt what you were trying to build, because He loves you too much to let you destroy yourself. You have to understand something about divine redirection. It rarely feels good in the moment. It feels like rejection. It feels like loss. It feels like confusion. Because your vision is limited to what you can see. But God's vision stretches across time, across consequences, across outcomes you haven't even imagined yet. You are looking at today. God is looking at 10 years from now. You are focused on what you feel. God is focused on what will fulfill you. There are people who walked away from your life, and you spent nights asking, why did they leave me? But what if they didn't leave you? What if they were removed from you? Because not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay in your life. Some people are lessons, not lifelines. Some people are assignments, not alignments. And when their purpose is finished, God will remove them, not because you are not enough, but because they are not meant for where you are going. Listen carefully. You cannot carry everyone into your future. Some people are only designed for a chapter of your story, not the entire book. And when you try to force permanent connections with temporary people, you create pain that God never intended for you to carry. That's why sometimes God will separate you from people you love, not to hurt your heart, but to protect your soul. Now let's talk about closed doors. There are opportunities you prayed for, worked for, and believed in. And still, the door did not open. You felt overlooked. You felt denied. You felt like life passed you by. But can I tell you something powerful? A closed door is often God's way of saying, this is not the place I prepared for you. Because if that door had opened, you might have stepped into something that looked like success, but carried hidden struggle. You might have gained the position, but lost your peace. You might have achieved the goal, but sacrificed your purpose. God is not just thinking about your next step, He is thinking about your entire journey. And sometimes, to protect the journey, He has to block the step. There are also moments when things don't just close, they collapse, plans fall apart, dreams shatter, situations break down completely. And you stand there thinking, this wasn't supposed to happen. But what if it was? What if the collapse was necessary because what you were building could not sustain where God is taking you? Sometimes God will allow something to break because it cannot go with you to the next level, because elevation requires separation, growth requires release, and transformation requires letting go. Let's go even deeper into your emotions, because the hardest part of redirection is not the loss itself, it's the attachment. It's the memories, it's the expectations, it's the what could have been. You don't just lose a person or an opportunity, you lose the future you imagined with it. And that hurts. That pain is real. But here is what you must understand. Just because something could have been does not mean it should have been. There are dreams you had that were built on incomplete information. There are plans you made without seeing the full picture. And God in His mercy will interrupt your imagination to replace it with His intention. You were dreaming small. God is planning big. You were settling. God is preparing something greater. But here's the challenge. When God removes something, He doesn't always immediately replace it. There is often a gap, a space between what was and what will be. And that space is uncomfortable. It feels empty. It feels uncertain. It feels like nothing is happening. But that space is sacred because that is where God works on you. Before God gives you what you're praying for, He prepares you for what you're asking for. Because if you receive it too early, you might destroy it. If you step into it unprepared, you might lose it. So God uses the waiting to strengthen your character. He uses the silence to build your faith. He uses the redirection to align you with your purpose. Let me speak directly to your heart. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. Everything that has been removed from your life is creating space for something better. But you cannot receive what's coming if your hands are still holding on to what's gone. You have to let go, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Let go of the person who walked away. Let go of the opportunity that didn't work out. Let go of the version of life you thought you wanted. Because holding on will only delay what God is trying to do next. Trust is the key here, not understanding, not logic, not control. Trust. Trust that God knows what He is doing. Trust that His timing is perfect. Trust that His plans are greater than yours, even when you don't see it. Even when you don't feel it. Because one day, everything will make sense. The pain will make sense. The loss will make sense. The redirection will make sense. And you will look back and realize, if that person had stayed, you would have settled. If that door had opened, you would have struggled. If that plan had worked, you would have missed your purpose. And in that moment, you won't feel hurt anymore. You will feel grateful. Grateful for the rejection. Grateful for the delay. Grateful for the removal. Because you will finally see that every no was protecting you from the wrong yes. So stop fighting what God is removing. Stop chasing what He has taken away. Stop trying to rebuild what He has already dismantled. Because if God ended it, it was not meant to continue. Instead, shift your focus. Look forward. Stay open. Stay faithful. Because something greater is coming. Something you didn't expect. Something you didn't plan. Something better than what you lost. And when it arrives, it will not bring confusion. It will not bring chaos. It will not bring struggle. It will bring peace. Because what God has for you will never require you to lose yourself to keep it. So stand strong, even in the uncertainty, even in the silence, even in the waiting. And remind yourself every day, God removes what will hurt me because He is leading me to what will heal me. Then let me take you even deeper. Because some of you are still standing in the middle of confusion, and your heart is whispering, but it still hurts. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels unfair. Yes, it feels like something was taken from you before its time. But pain does not always mean something is wrong. Sometimes pain is proof that something is being corrected. You see, when God removes something from your life, He is not just dealing with that one situation. He is aligning your entire future. And alignment requires adjustment. Think about it. If a train is even slightly off track, it cannot reach its destination safely. So what has to happen? It has to be redirected. And that redirection might feel uncomfortable. It might feel like a delay, but it is the only way to ensure you arrive where you are meant to be. Many of you were on the wrong track, not because you are bad, not because you are careless, but because you didn't have all the information. You trusted what you saw, you followed what you felt, you moved based on what made sense in the moment. But God sees beyond the moment. He sees the heartbreak before it happens. He sees the betrayal before it reveals itself. He sees the downfall before it begins. And because He loves you, He will step in and say, "No, not this way." But here is where most people struggle. When God says no, they hear rejection instead of protection. They feel unworthy instead of being guided. They think, "Why is this happening to me?" instead of asking, "What is this saving me from?" Let me shift your mindset right now. Every removal is a form of divine mercy. Even the ones that break you, even the ones that confuse you, even the ones that leave you in silence. Because there are things God will never allow to touch your life, even if you beg Him for it. You might not realize it now. But some of your biggest prayers were answered with closed doors. Some of your greatest blessings came disguised as disappointments. And some of your strongest moments were born from what didn't work out. There is also something powerful about what happens after the removal, because once something is taken away, you are left with a choice. You can either hold on to the pain or grow through the process. Some people stay stuck because they keep reliving what they lost. They replay the memories. They revisit the past. They hold on to what is no longer there. And in doing so, they block what is trying to come. But Others decide to rise. They say, "I may not understand this, but I refuse to stay broken by it." They choose healing over holding on. They choose faith over fear. They choose forward over backward. And that is when everything begins to shift, because God cannot lead you forward if you are still anchored to what's behind you. Let me be real with you. Some of you didn't lose it. You outgrew it. That relationship, you outgrew it. That mindset, you outgrew it. That environment, you outgrew it. But instead of recognizing your growth, you tried to shrink yourself to keep what was no longer aligned with you. And God said, "No, I didn't bring you this far for you to go back to what you've outgrown." So He removed it, not to hurt you, but to honor the version of you that is evolving. Growth will always require separation. You cannot become who you are meant to be while holding on to who you used to be. And sometimes The hardest part of your journey is not becoming someone new. It's letting go of what is no longer you. Let me remind you of something important. What is truly meant for you will never require force. It will not leave you in confusion. It will not drain your peace. It will not make you question your worth. What God has for you will align with you naturally. So if something had to be forced, if something kept breaking, if something kept bringing stress instead of peace, then its removal was not a tragedy. It was a necessary ending. And I know endings are hard because endings feel final. They feel like something is over forever. But what you don't see is that every ending is also a beginning. When one door closes, another path opens. When one chapter ends, another story begins. When something leaves, something else is making its way to you. But you have to trust the unseen. You have to believe in what you cannot yet feel. You have to walk forward, even when the road is not fully clear, because faith is not about certainty, it's about movement despite uncertainty. It's about saying, I don't know where this is leading, but I trust the one who is leading me. And let me tell you this, God does not remove something valuable from your life without replacing it with something greater, not equal, not similar, greater. But greater often requires preparation, which is why you are in this season right now, a season of growth, a season of reflection, a season of becoming. This is where your strength is being built. This is where your mindset is being refined. This is where you are learning that your peace does not depend on people. Your worth does not depend on outcomes. And your future does not depend on what you lost. So don't rush this process. Don't try to skip the lessons. Don't try to force things back together that God has already pulled apart. Instead, lean into it, learn from it, grow through it. Because one day you are going to stand in a place of peace, success, and clarity. And you are going to look back at this moment with completely different eyes. You will see that what you thought was the end was actually the turning point. You will see that what you called loss was actually protection. You will see that what broke your heart was building your life. And in that moment, you won't ask, why did this happen? You will say, thank God it happened this way. So hold on, not to what you lost, but to what is coming. Hold on to your faith. Hold on to your growth. Hold on to the belief that everything is working in your favor, because it is, even now, even in the silence, even in the uncertainty. God is working behind the scenes, removing, rearranging, redirecting, all for one purpose: to lead you into a life that will not hurt you, but heal you, elevate you, and fulfill you.